Hello, everyone. Welcome to my the panel session. I think it's going to be an interesting panel. As like Adam mentioned, change management is key for digital transformation. In our panel, we're going to talk more about digital twin aspect of it, what change management impact on digital twin is. So before we start, I wanted to give, there are various people have different definition of digital twin. So I'm going to throw two definition of digital twin before we get deeper into this. The first definition of digital twin is, so digital twin is in essence a computer program that uses the real world data to create simulations that can predict how a product or process will perform. These programs can integrate the Internet of Things, that's in Industry 4.0, artificial intelligence, software analytics to enhance the output. So that is a one definition which does not talk about the virtual representation of a physical product. The second definition, which is more commonly known, a digital twin is a virtual representation of a physical product or process used to understand and predict the physical counterpart performance and characteristics. So it's replication of the physical product, but with the sensors and the IoT and all those physical aspect of it, you actually the twin, which is a virtual or digital, it behaves exactly like the physical product. So once you convert something from a physical to a virtual, it opens up myriad of opportunities to play with, to optimize it, to improve the performance of the physical product without making incurring huge amount of cost to make the change. So with that, I wanted to introduce our panel here. And we have very, very knowledgeable panelists, and I would like them to introduce themselves because I cannot do justice by representing them or talking about them. So first, I would like to go to Rolf. Can you please introduce yourself and talk a little bit about your background in respect to digital twin?
Sure, Noorddin, thank you very much. So I'm Rolf Saeter, heading up the digital transformation for Norske Shell. And I've been in Shell here for the last 13 years, working with data-driven performance management, operational performance, and business improvement. Before that, around 10 years in the Army, and also a 10-year period as a self-employed in consultancy business with production system optimization as my main kind of product, if you like. When it comes to the definition of the digital twin, I know Stefan Ergang and Lee Hodder earlier today announced what Royal Dutch Shell's standardized definition is. And on top of that, I think I will add flexibility because it is an evolving journey. So when you are talking about both a static twin, but also a more dynamic twin, we are talking about a situation that is evolving into the future. So it's not a product in my definition of a product. It is also a digital ecosystem that have liberated all the data that actually construct the whole twin. So these data are available for innovation. And then bring me to the last point, which is important for me, is actually the digital ecosystem, the digital twin need to be an open, innovative landscape to impact the performance, the behavior, and the structure you are representing.
Thanks, Rolf. Now we can go to Elisabetta. You want to introduce yourself and talk about digital twin experience?
Yes, I'm Elisabetta Purlalli. I've been in the energy industry for 20 years. I spent most of my career in the gas business in particular, and with respect to LNG. where I just recently came back as heading the energy equity valorization. But I've been in charge of the change management of the company for the digital transformation purpose. And in that context, so in the context of the digital transformation, digital twins are essential. I think that if we go to the definition of a digital twin, that in our case were applied in many areas. So they were applied to projects, to plans, to systems. But coming to the definition of it, I would say that my view is that is a perfect virtual dynamic pair, a perfectly virtually mirroring vision of a physical asset or thing that really can vary from nanotechnology to processes or all systems. And for me, digital twins is the demonstration that it's possible to have an effective cooperation. You were talking, Noorddin, about the cooperation. So I think that it's the example of an effective cooperation between human and machine, where human teaches the machine and the machine gives back in a kind of circular way. So creating not only a replica of an object, but a potential replica of a behavior in a dynamic circle. So it's an easier way to have people get, in a way, closer to digital, because it's a kind of enabler of a collaborative virtual manipulating of physical world, thanks to a kind of multi-dimensional view. So a kind of interactive multiple purpose model. That's my view.
Thanks, thanks, Elisabetta. Soni,
Yep.
Prashant.
Thank you very much, Noorddin, and thank you very much to the organizer for inviting me from Aker BP to be present here. Prashant Soni, my name is, and I'm part of Aker BP, where I work with digital strategies, and which is in a unit called Concept Development and Technology. It's last 2.5, 3 years I've been working with Aker BP, and where my focus mainly is with people, with competence, and how we can prepare our people for tomorrow. When it comes to digital transformation. But I've been working with the energy and oil and gas industry for the last 15 years with different positions, different locations, different companies. So it's a bit of an experience and bit of kind of different cultures I have been part of. When it comes to digital twin, as Rolf mentioned and also Elisabetta mentioned, digital twin can mean a number of things, a lot of things to different people when you talk to them. For some people, digital twin can be as a 3D model, which has some databases connected and it gives you some sort of information about the asset. But for other people, it could be like everything, all the information related to an asset from its inception all the way to cessation is available for people. So digital twin could be as simple as it is. It could be modeling the behavior of the asset in a way more like if you have real-time information coming. So it could be a prescriptive twin, and it could also allow by using algorithm and machine learning to come up with some predictive solutions as well. So if I can sum it up, what digital twin mean to me and to us, it's not a tool. It's more like a new way of working, if I could say that. So
Thanks.
That's me.
Thanks. I think that you brought up a very good point, new way of working, which has a direct tie to the culture, organization culture. Organized culture has to change. So we will discuss more on that. So we'll go to Abul. Please introduce and talk about your experience with digital twin.
Sure. Good afternoon from very beautiful Bergen in Norway today. So my name is Abul Fahimuddin, and thanks, Noorddin, for the introduction. So I work at the Equinor Digital Center of Excellence. You can call me the algo guy, so because I manage and lead data-driven analytics projects, primarily within the subsurface domain at this point in time. In addition, I'm the product owner for our Ideation machine, which is actually a domain-agnostic AI and machine learning software platform geared for citizen data scientists, which I believe very much in line with what Soni has just mentioned, implementing new ways of working. I had a previous experience from Shell, and I also develop algorithms for high performance computing in Germany. So my experience in energy industry, I was just counting, it's more than now 12 years. So I have been working both from exploration to production units, from R&D departments. I also have recently very engaged with the corporate strategy, especially with digital strategies, and now this has culminated in more digital project leadership roles. Now, when it comes to digital twin, I believe this is a very, very broad topic. It is a concept. Let me build on this. It is a holistic, I want to re-emphasize this word, a holistic digital representation of an asset and associated value stream. All my distinguished panels have already framed it very nicely. I mostly agree with it. But for large-scale international energy companies like myself, coming from Equinor, we all have many different software applications for documentation, maintenance, and management of the facilities, for that matter. For some examples, it can be our engineering data lying around the proprietary databases or logistic and maintenance information in a system like SAP. So the digital twin for us aims to integrate data from these disparate application and sources and make this available so that we can build new apps on new devices and collaborate across the board. This is not a single product delivered by a single entity. It can be both internal or external. Rather, it's a combination of several internal and external software components. And the goal is very clear. It's going to improve your safety. It's going to improve your bottom line effect. And very importantly, digital twin needs to address the issues of reducing CO2 emissions from oil and gas industry. So in summary, a digital twin where Soni has just finished, it is actually taking an asset-heavy industry like ours to become more data-driven and actually implement the new ways of working. Noorddin, back to you.
Thanks, Abul. Thanks, the good comment. So you know that digital twin, or I would say for digital transformation, digital twin is the core element to drive successful transformation. Digital twin has, I would say there are three aspects of digital twin, or three use cases, I would say. The one is that you can do a product use case, the digital twin of a product. You can have digital twin of a process and a production environment. You can actually create a digital twin of whole production line, so you can see how products are moving and optimize the whole assembly line. Right? So that's the thing. So in context of that, I would ask my panelist, okay, what value, what use cases that you are, implementing in your company, and what do you expect? What value you expect to drive from those initiatives? So I can start with Rolf. You want to talk about that? The value
Sure,
driver
indeed.
for you?
Yeah, indeed. And I think it's very, very important to understand that you need to start with understanding of what kind of value you are after. I personally, I don't believe that we should deploy technology and then try to find problems to solve. I think we should actually go in and understand where is our friction points, where is our unlocked potential, and where do we have enhanced business opportunities which we can't unlock without doing something differently. And this type of differently can be some sort of digital transformation. So we started there with compiling a business case driven out of gap analysis in the transactional and collaboration landscape. So in the production landscape and in the cost of supply landscape. Then you have three starting points for us when we drive the motivation to identify value. And then we construct an ecosystem that was strong enough to impact these three areas, both to find small, fix small, but also to think big and scale fast. So we need to be robust enough to go after continue to go after the value. And collaboration or transactional activities can be as easy as collaboration between a vendor and an operator on the plant to understand what need to be prepared or can be prepared remotely before the vendor come on the sites to fix a problem together with the technicians. It can be shared awareness around HSC. It can be proactive prediction of energy consumption of a plant to see if we can balance the energy spend to produce oil and gas. Or it can be debottlenecking of flow from reservoir to market in our production landscape. So I think it's important to start with a problem and not with the technology. I see in the journey, while we have moved into a forest of problems, is where we try to go after the technology and have lost our focus on problems. So the definition of the word value is so much more important for the change management than we can believe, because it is not enough inspiration in the technology to stimulate and motivate. But it's like a new car. You buy it, you use it in 3 weeks, and then it's just a car again. And same with the technology. If it doesn't add value, the organization are not interested anymore. So that is my starting point there around change management and value.
Thanks, Rolf. A good point. What I would I cannot emphasize enough. So people normally they look for a technology. First, look at the technology and try to solve the problem. You have to look for the problem first and find what technology can solve their problem. Because people are passionate about technology and they just wanted to. It's like the hammer looking for a nail. You just. So it's a good point. Very well explained. Anyone else wants to talk about this?
Yeah, with respect to the value, I share 100% what you both mentioned. I mean, the value is in a way is empowering people to dare more without risks. So the fact is that probably thinking about what Soni and Abul mentioned earlier with respect to the definition of digital twin, both of them said that it's a concept, it's not a tool. I would in a provocative way say that it's a tool for changing. So it's I agree that it's a concept, but it's a tool for changing, because I think that it has a very positive, it embeds a very positive element, which is the fact of being an additional opportunity for companies, but for companies' people. So the digital twins are in a way important to demonstrate how digital technologies, as you were mentioning, Noorddin, are indeed helping the transition and the change in the attitude, because it implies a new way of working, which is very touchable, it's tangible. So in a way, the value is that helps people understanding and catching opportunities to dare and doing more, but in a safer condition, in a continuously updating environment, understanding that it can be possible. So seeing is believing, and they also can prevent actions or events because they understand what if scenario, so they can test. So as monitor and predict in more accurately way, and definitely grant energy efficiency as it was mentioned. So I think that the value is something that has to be explained, but has to be more than explained, perceived by people. And then of course it arrives to, that's why I say it's a tool for them to realize how positive it could be changing the attitude.
Very good, very good. Thanks, Elisabetta. So, Prashant and Abul, do you want to make any comments?
I think, I mean, like the point you guys are making is really good about the value, and that should be the starting point. But the value should be, I mean, like, what do we mean by value, right? Is it like the stakeholder value? Is it about lowering the cost? Is it about lowering the footprint what we have, or is it about something else? Like as we have the digital twin up and going and working, functioning, how can we reduce the risk? Can we reduce the people offshore? Can we involve people, and I mean, like in other works? Can this create something else? That's also value. So value, how you look into that. I do agree, and the point Rolf made, I will definitely say a little bit more afterwards, I believe, on start with the problem and not with the solution, and looking for problems.
Very good. And then I just wanted to point here, I was on another panel yesterday, and we talked about the value, defined value. Everybody has a different definition of value. Value is different for everybody. So I would say, every organization has a vision, a strategy, and the value has to drive towards those vision strategy. That's how every organization defines its value. Abul, do you want to say anything?
Yeah, sure. I think most of the things, on the value side, I think as we experience, at least in Equinor, the main value realization probably come on doing things faster and more efficiently with lesser efforts. That means releasing your valuable time, what you were doing before, you do it faster, essentially demobilizing that delta time to something else. I just want to add one more other value realization that we see at least very relevant for oil and gas industry. I hope the rest of my panel will agree. That is, most of our digital twins have been associated with our traditional oil and gas portfolio. That is safe to say, because that is the business we're very good at it. But I think going forward into the renewable world, I believe the learnings, the way how we are implementing the IT infrastructure, the tools on the digital twin will be highly relevant and actually replicable to the new energy world. Essentially, what we are doing now as an industry is actually preparing us for energy transition. So I think that is a kind of an underestimated value that we normally don't touch. But I think our industry, we as a whole, are preparing for the immediate the world that we are embarking upon.
Very good. Thanks, Abul. So now let's change gear and let's talk about culture. Okay. So digital twin. Let's say that the end state of digital twin implementation in any organization, let's say that we virtualized everything which is physical, and we operate in a virtual environment, even though physical environment is going on at the same time, and you can optimize your physical based on the output of your virtual simulation of a digital twin. How does it impact the culture? What ingredients or the cultural elements is required to successfully adopt a digital twin in an organization so that your virtual and your physical environment works together and generate value for the organization? So Rolf, you want to talk about cultural element?
Yeah, indeed. So I think the current culture is more than motivated to go along into this journey, because if you look at the public in the public area, in our home life, we are 100% digitalized all over the place right now, and the industrial digitalization is a laggard. So I think the people are more into expectation management than change management. So I think the organization are looking at us as leaders and say, hey, why aren't we moving in that direction? So, and I think then it's a little bit about bringing their insight into the transformation to get a precise solution they can trust fast. Then you get fast adaptability, you produce only what you need and not more. And that involvement helps us also to decomplicate the business, because into our process engineer stack or reservoir engineer community, or into an operational maintenance community, these people, they of course know what they're doing, what kind of digital services can help them to de-frictionize their cross-functional issues or whatever it is. And they need to be part of it, because if we go in with IE, they need to trust the machine learning. They need to learn it, to program it. I don't want them to sit and program machine learnings, but they need to understand the concept, because they need to trust the outcome. And if you do all these type of things, I think the problem we have is not change management, is actually expectation management.
Thanks, Rolf. Elisabetta, I know it's change management and culture is very dear to you. So, do you have any comment?
Absolutely. I definitely trust in the fact that we can change. And I think you were asking about the basic element for cultural change, and I think it's awareness. I think it's not yet clear enough that the cultural change brings with it innovation. We talk a lot, but the real concept of cultural change brings innovation is not that felt as it should be. And I think that the digital twins help a lot to realize that this change is possible, and it's in a way it's easy. So the digital twin brings per se, I think, innovation, discovery, the experimentation mode, which is typical of the innovation approach, so the experimentation of the new. So I think that if a cultural change drives a behavioral change, if spontaneous, then it can reinvigorate the enthusiasm, which is the energy that the traditional companies need now. Because, of course, we are, as energy companies, we are living a very transitional period. And to us, as energy company, is in a way is much more required than others to be ready to change, because we have really to change perspective. So I think that the awareness that can be achieved thanks to the right communication of the why, and they should change, and people can understand the need and the purpose, as we were mentioning, to the value and the purpose of the digital twins. I think that then the change can really be caused. So it's. I think that with respect to the element, the awareness is really fundamental. But I think that really communicating correctly in a very, once again, in a very concrete way is key. And I think that the fact that the digital twins allow people, even the less experienced, that this is something I really would like to underline. The opportunities that the digital twins offers also to younger generation, so less experienced people or younger, to try something which is, let's say, far away, or that in the past needed a lot of time to be learned, to test, to make experience, understanding what is the consequence of my action without any expenditure of money and no waste of time. Then I think that understanding virtually the potential of an action really enhance the capabilities and the opportunities, and can allow the cultural change. So it's not easy, but more and more I think that compared to some years ago, companies are realizing that the cultural change, the culture drives performance. We are not yet there, because there's still the misconcept that culture is just blah blah blah, which is not like that. I mean, it's the value perceived. So I think that really replicants can. So the digital twins are really helping a lot to make this jump to to this transitional phase, and along this digital transformation strategy that most of the energy companies are going on. With digital twins, it's easier to realize how this change can be accelerated for a future energy. So as we were mentioning earlier, to adapt to new instruments that are required for renewables, for example, for energy efficiency, and all what is needed. And I think that really explaining to people in the right way the value proposition can really create I would say a more adaptive organization, and so every modern plant should have, by definition, a digital twin, because that means that the change is already done.
Thanks, Elisabetta. You answered a lot of questions that I was going to ask, so that's good. But now I have a very important question actually. So some of the things that Elisabetta you already covered, but I wanted to ask a direct question for our audience so they can hear from Prashant, Soni. So digital twin. This is the key question that I have. So digital twin is actually creating a virtual environment of a physical environment, right? So the organization behavior. So let's talk about the behavior of an organization. So organization culture and behavior we have modified for digital, or we matured it to support our digital transformation. So, for example, some organizations are very risk averse. It's a culture, it's a risk averse. They don't want to take risk because it costs a lot of money to do this, and we don't want to spend too much money. But that cultural element, when you go from physical to a digital or a digital twin, like I said before, that one of the biggest advantage of having a digital model of a physical is that it's a lower cost. You can simulate things without incurring huge amount of cost to see what the outcome is, and then you go back to the physical part and implement it, right? So the cultural element, can you talk a little bit more about what kind of cultural transition you need when a company digitize itself and have more digital twins?
Yeah, I can give it a shot, and then the other colleagues can also jump in and help me with that. It's a big question, but I can start with one thing. I mean, like we talk about managing change or managing expectations, as Rolf said, managing expectations and managing change, as Elisabetta is saying, is I think the best way to tackle that is to prepare our people for tomorrow, right? If you are prepared, like what can come, then you are prepared as well for the change, and you're also probably prepared for some sort of expectations. You will land somewhere in between. But it's been already mentioned when we talked about the company behavior. Company behavior is what? Is it a business, right? And business is dynamic. It's changing. We are changing. The industry is changing, and everything around us is changing as well. So that's one thing. The other thing is about the digital twin, and digital twin is if we call it as a tool, let's say, then it's more about implementation of something, right? If you are implementing something, it could be as simplistic as a system, it could be a work process, it could be just a tool. Any implementation will affect people. Implementation affect people, and it also affect their behavior. But one should not just focus a lot on technology. If you focus a lot on technology, you'll forget the most valuable thing what your company has is the people. So people should be on focus, simply. It's been already mentioned by Rolf as well. Like when you really want to solve something, start with the problem, not with the solution, not with the technology. So the focus should be, and I'm coming back to this story as well, the focus should be on the user experience. Focus should be on the end user and the early involvement of the end user, how we can equip our people with all the skills they need, the knowledge they need, the thinking about like how we can make the company a more like a learning organization. So from this, I'm actually going towards the changing the culture. At least in the last 3 years in Aker BP, what we have experienced is change, and the digital comes from the top. when our CEO goes out, he talks about the digitalization from his heart. He says that the digitalization is really a differentiator for us as a company, and we really want to push it. We really want to be the first runner, and we really want to show the people. We want to challenge the status quo. So it starts from there, the one thing. Then you bring people as well on board. As I mentioned already, like the best way to manage change is probably to prepare our people for tomorrow. That means you really need to embrace change. You need to plan. You need to really have an eye on what's happening outside. And maybe what's hot today not necessarily be hot tomorrow. It could be probably cold. So what we could teach our people, I mean, like what we are doing. I think I'm going in all the directions, but I hope to actually land to answer your question. Is some people think about like, okay, the transformation, the best or the easiest way is to teach our people machine learning. Maybe easiest way is to actually give them some sort of course on cloud computing and so on, and that's it. Or maybe bring it more data scientists, and that will probably help it. But our thinking is more two ways. One is we would like to bring in more and more citizen data scientists within our company. And what do we mean by citizen data scientist? Is a person who is really good in domain, and in addition to that, that person can also do is also a digital savvy, can actually translate the physical problem to a digital native. And once the digital native has done the job with the analytics and so on, so can take the result back and implement into the physical world as well. So bring more and more of that citizen data scientist. And at the same time, we should engage our people to be curious, more curious to see what's happening, giving them the opportunity and chance to learn from the others in the sector, expose them to what's happening outside, hiring people from different backgrounds and mixing them with the other system companies as well. So that's how like a combination of a lot of things from the leadership, the vision, and also giving the opportunities to individuals. That's how we are trying to bring the cultural change in a way. Noorddin. I don't know if I have
Prashant.
answered, but I have
No, I
taken
will.
you
I will go
around.
to. No, thanks. I will go to Abul for his comment. But before I go to Abul, I want to make a comment here. So digital twin, is fueled by data, a lot of data, sensor data, right? So more data you have, and the physics, including the physics of the model, it will really behave exactly what the physical object is behaving, right? But what the value that you will get out of this is that you need to process the data and do prediction. You have to use this virtual model to predict when the physical model is going to fail, and you have more data. But what I have seen, the problem is, we have generating, especially in oil and gas industry, we have thousands and terabytes of data, but we need the right people, right domain experts to process the data. If the person who is processing data has no domain expertise and he's just going with regression and statistics, it may not be right decision. And that is the flaw that I feel. So the comment that I have is that we are generating a lot of data, but we need a right domain expertise to process the data. So work with technology, with the domain expertise. The collaboration plays a role there. Okay, now I'm going to go to Abul.
That's what I mentioned. I'm sorry, Noorddin. That's where I mentioned like this term citizen data scientist.
Yeah,
like a domain
exactly.
person who we are lifting to a level of at a citizen data scientist, so that we don't need extra data scientists, but these guys can do the magic because they have a kind of translator role between the physical and the virtual world.
Exactly. Well said. Yeah, thanks. Abul?
Yeah, sure. I think this is a lot of the terms has been used very close to my heart. I just want to put additional dimension of it. I think we have been speaking about, like Prashant has mentioned, the top-down approach. Then you have a bottom-up innovation. I think we are putting too much, in my humble opinion, onto our end users, our people on the ground. I think the organization also need to play an important role here. So what I would allude to us that our organization need to ensure that we have a digital ecosystem internally, i.e. we need to organize for digital innovations, which I'm alluding to. It's very fair to say Equinor, at least for us, we are not born agile companies like Spotify or whoever you call, right? But we have ambition to be like that. But now we have come 3-4 years up to the digital transformation journey, and our time has come to our industry to go from command and control structure more to digital organization, less middle management, more people on the ground. That's how I think the organization need to set up the building blocks. We need to think about like agile organizations, like nimble companies. How do they think around product rather than processes? And that's why the terminology is tribes, squads, a minimum viable product, all these things. It doesn't have to be in the center of excellence. If we cannot precipitate across the organizations, I'm afraid we will fail in the long term. So my point is, I agree with most of my distinguished colleagues here, but I think we need to also, the organization need to increase their efforts. Let's reorganize. Let's make us more relevant to the new world order that we have come up to as an industry. Back to you, Noorddin.
Thanks, Abul. Thanks, Abul. So I want to make one more question, before we go. We only have like 6 minutes left. So what I want to just have anybody talk about, because digital transformation is about 80% is about the culture and the people and the capability, and only 20% about technology. People always focus on technology and forget about, the culture change or the capability and the people and all that. Can you give an example? Have you come across any issues like this in your company? Anybody?
Probably all of us.
all of
Maybe.
us.
Yeah. So how do you think, what should organization leadership should do to make sure that the awareness is there, that it's not only about technology, it's the whole organization has to move into that direction to make it successful? And I'm going to give, go ahead, Elisabetta. Go ahead.
It's the reply is connected with what Abul was mentioning, which I definitely marry 100%, because he said he raised a good point with respect to the feeling within the organization. The point is that trying to have the common language, and the common language is definitely something which is not yet there. So to have the cultural change, definitely you have to have every, let's say, spreading out the fact that there's a common language which is no longer the language of the informatic technology only, that probably understands only technical people, but it's really something which is for everybody. And that's something, that's a jump that we have not yet done.
Okay, thanks, Elisabetta. We have 4 minutes, and I have one question, and I want everybody to answer that before we close our session. So, can you talk about the pain point in your digital transformation, specifically the digital twin implementation, and what are your learnings? Just if you can share pain points and a learning, each of you, that would be great. So, Rolf, I'll start with you.
Yeah, the pain points is, even though we have extremely good data, they are stuck in different containers. So when we are liberating our intellectual capacity, so i.e. Let the culture play, we are sitting and waiting for data. And that is an issue. How to solve it? We need to bring it upwards to the level of focus from the management. And I think going forward, I don't think strategies and senior level of management is the most important part. I think liberating the intellectual capacity in the organization is the most important part.
Okay, thanks, Rolf. Elisabetta?
Yeah.
Or if anyone else wants to go.
Pain point probably is once again is probably the organizational, let's say, unreadiness of making the jump due to the, let's say, the traditional approach. probably that is the most pain points. I think the solution is easier now because the change is a must. So they will change by definition. So I think it's something which will be easily overcome. But the good thing, and only 1 second, the good thing is that what I saw is how people at the end of the day are really willing to change. That's the good point that I would leave you with.
Yeah, thanks, Elisabetta.
I just want
Prashant?
I want to continue on that. Like I think we talked a lot about the people as well, and the how the language and how the individuals who work with the innovation, how they are changing the company. But I want to take another point as well, like another aspect, and that's a very important one. It's partners and alliances, because we as a company can have a really fantastic digital agenda, but we can't do and get the successful product what we want to achieve on our own. We need each other for that. So in order to come closer in one way or another way, like both us and our partners have a common purpose or same agenda, that would be quite difficult. But I won't say that's a pain point, but it's more of a challenge. A solution could be like we could have with our partners, rather than having a normal contracts, we could have a performance-based contracts, like what Aker BP is now working on. Like you used to sell us some sort of service, let's say pump, but don't sell us just that. Probably you should sell us a pumping as a service, a performance as a service. And by doing that, you have access to all the data you need to your equipment, and you can have your own digital twin, which could be part of our bigger digital twin. So digital twin in a digital twin, and you maintain it.
Okay.
So that could be a
Thanks,
solution.
Soni. Thanks, Soni. We have 30 seconds for Abul. You want to make a quick
sure,
comment?
not a problem. I think the main comment is that personal I have, once we go into the change management journey, when you meet the most skeptics ones, there are some of us out there, one of the questions they frequently ask, okay, digital twin looks very cool, fancy. What's the value you have realized? I think one of the pain points, it is not given, and actually very difficult to quantify value realization from data algorithmic based solutions. And the solution, so that's an issue. People want to see the delta value realization. And the solution would be, let's organize for digital, put some transparent metric, and be authentic and open, tell what we have achieved. And I believe in Elisabetta's comment, people really want to change. The people on the fence, they just want to get that little extra. I think we can do that. So, yeah.
Okay, thanks, Abul. Very well discussion. Well covered most of the topics, and I think we are out of time. So I just want to thank everyone for your insightful conversation, and I hope that our audience have learned a lot from this this panel session. Looking forward to working with you again. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.